Alright, welcome to Lawrence Outdoors. My name's Jacob. Today I'm with
Mark.
as always. Today we're at the Curtis Gates Lloyd.
Curtis Gates Lloyd Wildlife Management Area in Crittenton, Kentucky. We're at the Tube Range, and with the recent events in Washington, D.C., with our legislatures passing a couple of gun control bills yesterday in the House, I thought it'd be a good time to come out here and give you guys a little bit of just an informational video on what semi-automatic firearms really are, what is an AR-15, how does it function. There's not going to be a lot of shooting. It's just going to be a demonstration of how it works, the size of the round that it fires, kind of dispel some of the myths that are out there on the talking point side of the aisle.
Do you want to say what's in the bill?
No, it's out there. You can look up HR 1 and you can look up HR 8. But mostly I borrowed a couple of guns from a friend of mine, and one of those bills it aims to make that illegal. You won't be able to borrow a gun from a friend, a neighbor, or a relative. If you don't have a background check that you somehow are supposed to get, you can't borrow the gun to use the gun. And you might be like, well, hey, that's a good idea, but that could probably be construed by an anti-gun judge, prosecutor, police officer, or lawyer to say that if I owned a gun and I'm here at the range and the guy at the bench next to me wants, like, that's a cool gun. I'm like, yeah, you want to shoot it? He's like, yeah. And I give him that gun. Potentially, we both broke the law because I let him take possession of the gun and shoot it at the range. So, I mean, these are serious issues that people need to talk about and think about. So that's kind of what spurred this on. And I know they're going to be coming for the AR-15s and the AK-47s and all the scary guns that people see in movies that do amazing things that aren't real. So I figured it'd be a good time to show you just a basic information video. And I got a couple of quotes here I'm going to put on the record just as a demonstration.
We'll put them on the screen too.
Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, Democrat, Texas, claiming that she held an AR-15 and wishes that she had not. She said, "It's as heavy as 10 boxes that you might be moving." I don't know what that unit of measure is, but we can assume it's pretty heavy. And the bullet that is utilized is a .50 caliber. These kinds of bullets need to be licensed and do not need to be on the streets. Well, that is pretty much just an entirely false statement from the get-go. We'll address that when we get to the range. Former Texas Congressman Robert Francis O'Rourke, you may know him as Beto O'Rourke, he said, hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15. Hell yes, we're going to take your AK-47. So when they say we're not coming for your guns, do not believe them, because they're coming for your guns. Former President Barack Obama, I do not believe people should be able to own guns. That's a quote. He said it. Senator Dianne Feinstein, the author of the 1994 assault weapons ban. If I could have gotten an outright ban, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn in your guns, I would have. And here's one that a lot of people probably already know. Well, you know, my shotgun will do better for you than your AR-15. Because you just want to keep someone away from your house, just fire the shotgun through the door. Do not do that. Don't ever fire your shotgun through the door. That's a terrible idea. You will wind up in jail. And another quote from the same person. Kate, if you want to protect yourself, get a double-barrel shotgun. Have the shells of a 12-gauge shotgun, and I promise you, as I told my wife, we lived in an area that was wooded and somewhat secluded. I said, Jill, if there's ever a problem, just walk it on the balcony. Walk out, put that double-barrel shotgun, and fire 2 blasts outside the house. I promise you, whoever's coming in, and he kind of trailed off, and he follows up with, you don't need an AR-15. It's harder to aim, it's harder to use. You don't need 30 rounds to protect yourself. Buy a shotgun. Buy a shotgun. And that was our current president, Joe Biden. So, 2 quotes from the sitting president that are both 100% wrong and most likely illegal. Do not do these things. And then finally, Representative Diana DeGette from Colorado. We have federal regulations and state laws that prohibit hunting ducks with more than 3 rounds. And yet it's legal to hunt humans with 15, 30 round, even 150 round magazines. Well, I mean, you can't have a more patently false statement anywhere. Yes, you have to plug your shotgun if you're duck hunting, but in no state or territory of the United States that I know is it legal to hunt humans. It's not legal to hunt humans. It's illegal to shoot people. Murder is against the law. So these are the ridiculous kind of statements that they're using to rile up the left, rile up the anti-gun people, to rile up the uninformed. And that's why I thought it was important to maybe give you guys just a little bit of information so that you can see the differences and what is really happening here. And just as a reminder, we are on the gun range today, so please bear with any shooting that you hear in the background. And if you know who I just paraphrased, go ahead and put that in the comments. But now we're going to turn around and we're going to show you the 3 guns and the 3 rounds that we're going to shoot. And then we'll explain more when we actually have the opportunity to send some rounds downrange.
Here we have the 3 calibers we'll be using today. And he will explain what they are.
The first thing that we're going to demonstrate today is the 22 long rifle. As you can see, it's a very small, diminutive round. We're going to shoot this out of a semi-automatic rifle. The next round we're going to shoot today is the 5.56/223. This is the AR-15's standard ammunition. As you can tell, it's nowhere near 50 caliber. And it is also a small and fairly diminutive round. We're going to shoot this out of an AR-15 today. So for a comparison, here's a 22, here's the 223/5.56. They both actually have the same caliber projectile. And finally, we're going to demonstrate the 30-06. This round was developed in 1906, so it's well over 100 years old. It is not a small diminutive round, nor is it a 50 caliber. It's got a 30 caliber bullet, and as you can see, it's tremendously bigger than the death ray that comes out of the AR-15. So just to put that out right now, the AR-15 is no way as powerful as your standard run-of-the-mill 115-year-old hunting rifle. Not even close. And we're going to fire this also out of a semi-automatic.
Now we will show you the guns we'll be using today. So here we have our 22 semi-automatic Ruger in the middle here. On the right, AR-15 home build, and on the left is the 30-06. Is that a Remington?
That is a Remington model 742 Woodsmaster. So as you can see, we have 3 rifles, and you might not be able to tell because these 2 might look like your uncle's or your grandpa's hunting rifle, right? Nobody's scared of these guns, right? But then we have this one, which is black, and it's got a weird thing on the end of the rifle, on the end of the barrel, and it takes a detachable magazine. But in fact, every gun that you see here operates essentially the exact same way. They all have a detachable magazine, and they're all semi-automatic, meaning you put the magazine into the gun, you chamber a round, and when you pull the trigger, it will fire the round, and then it will automatically load from the magazine the next round. That's all it will do. So when you hear people talking about fully semi-automatic, that's what they mean. Semi-automatic, that's what it does. It's very rare in the civilian world because of a whole lot of gun control laws in the past, 1934, 1968, and in 1986, where there's a limited number of privately held fully automatic weapons, and you have to apply to the ATF, you have to pay a stamp, and then you have to obtain a gun that was put on a list prior to 1986, and that gun's going to cost you tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars. The average person, the average criminal, They're not running around with fully automatic guns. This is what they're talking about banning right here. And there's 3 guns that look different, 3 different calibers. They all function essentially the exact same way. So that's really important. Why is this gun so much more terrifying and worse than this gun or this gun? I have no idea.
Okay, we're gonna take you down to the range now, give you some examples of how they work. I'll see you there. Okay, we're back from the range at our hacienda, and there's too many people to kind of explain what we wanted to on the range. All the tubes were used up, so we figured we'd just come back here and do it.
For some reason, it's really loud at the range too.
Yeah. So, just to kind of cover what we explained, we showed what a semi-automatic was in the videos we took at the range, and we're going to play those for you now.
And hopefully you should be able to see the function of what happens when we pull the trigger, and the differing levels of recoil, which is a simple way to equate the power. So hopefully the 22 is going to have the least amount of recoil as one video, and the 30-06 is going to have the most, with the Scary Evil Death Ray somewhere in the middle. I haven't seen a video yet, so we'll learn it together.
And so the first one is the 22 long rifle cartridge. Here it is.
So as you can see, I pull the trigger, the gun fires, it ejects the casing, it loads the next round into the chamber, but my finger has been holding the trigger back the entire time and is still holding the trigger back, and yet the gun is not firing another time. So one pull of the trigger, one round gets fired, it reloads the chamber, and then nothing happens.
And then, so you'll see in the next video of the AR-15, the mechanics are all the same, you know, of how the gun actually operates. So here's the AR-15. So one shot, I let go. Second shot. Now I'm holding it. You can see that it's just one shot, one bullet. So the mechanics are the same. The only thing that has changed is the size of the bullet.
Right, and again, it's pull the trigger, one round fires, one round is taken from the magazine and loaded into the chamber of the rifle, and then nothing else happens. There's no bursting sprays of fire, there's no continuous fire, none of that. Just one round is fired every time you pull the trigger. That's it. And that's pretty standard, whether it's a revolver or a semi-automatic. You know, if you're shooting a revolver, every time you pull the trigger, one round goes off. You know, so there's a lot of hyperbole out there in the political world that's designed to scare you about how fast these guns can shoot and how they're just spraying fire, and the magazines are just make them extra deadly, and handguards make them extra deadly. And hopefully this video portrays that's actually nowhere near the case. And now we have the 30-06.
Again, you said this was how old, the bullet?
The 30-06 was standardized in 1906. That's why it's 30 caliber 1906. That's where the name comes from. And for those of you who don't know, in the American system, caliber is just the bullet diameter in inches. So it's 0.30 inches in diameter. That's all a 30 means. And then in this case, the 06 means 1906, but there's no standardization of that unless it was adapted by the military. So this round was used in the 1903 Springfield and the M1 Garand, and they just called it the 06 because that's the time that they adopted the round.
Yeah, so this has been around for 100 years, but still works the same exact way as the other two guns we showed you. So let's watch these two. Let's watch this clip here.
And this rifle is from the 60s, so this is not new technology. And it works essentially the exact same way as an AR-15 does.
Here it is. You can tell the recoil is much larger than the 22.
And you can see with this trigger manipulation, it's exactly the same. One round, fire, reload, wait.
Right.
So there's a hunting rifle and a sporting rifle and the 22, which is everything you want it to be rifle. And as you can tell, regardless of how they look, One is demonized in the media and in politics because of the way it looks, and the other two are never talked about, even though they're all essentially the same in the way they function. And the AR-15 is not a powerful rifle.
Yeah, as you saw, I mean, in the clip with showing you the different size of the bullets, it's significantly smaller than what would be used for hunting, or in the M1 Garand, which would be military
Right.
use, you know.
And yes, it looks like it's a military rifle, so you could say it's a military style rifle. However, the original AR-15 was first sold on the civilian market. So the Air Force was the first adopter to the AR-15, and they adopted a civilian rifle to fit their purposes. It was not the other way around. So it was never designed as a weapon of war. It was in fact, Ruby wants to be in the video again. It was in fact a civilian rifle that they thought met the needs that they needed at the time. And then a whole bunch of stuff happened and the Army got involved and things changed and adapted over time, but that's not relevant to the conversation. But whether it's got something threaded on the muzzle, whether it's got a 5-round magazine or a 500-round magazine, a solid stock, a folding stock, not a folding stock, but a collapsible stock, a hand grip or no hand grip, an optic or no optic, the gun is the same, it functions no different, and it's no more dangerous no matter what configuration it is. Now, this is like a day and a half since we shot at the range because life happens, but in the time that we shot the video at the range and shot this video now, Dianne Feinstein in the Senate has introduced her assault weapons ban again. And she wants to take that AR-15 away from everybody, strictly because of what it looks like. And I encourage you to go look it up, read the bill, see what she wants to ban. I think it's 207 types of firearm or 207 specific firearms. This is basically the same bill that they had passed in 1994 that had zero impact at all on gun crime, other than to make people with guns potential criminals. It also has the magazine capacity ban. I'm not sure why that's important. 5 rounds, 20 rounds, 30 rounds, 50 rounds, it doesn't really make that much difference. The time it takes to change a magazine is very, very small. Even if you don't practice, you push a button, out comes the magazine, you take a new magazine and you put it in. So you're not really having an effect on much. It's just a way to scare people with this gun holds 30 rounds or 300 rounds or whatever lie they're going to tell you. Just remember, it does not change the lethality of the weapon.
I think it's important to note too that, like with the video game, people saying video game correlates to gun violence or anything like that, that just because you have a controller in your hand doesn't teach you to properly manipulate a firearm or do what you want, you know. Sure, it's just as easy as pulling a trigger, but like if you've never handled a firearm before, you don't know what the safety is or how to chamber a round or do any of these things to actually effectively use, you know, the firearm. So I think any laws proposed about firearms only hurts the law-abiding citizens because criminals are going to criminal anyway. So why make laws that would only affect, you know, the everyday people?
Right, and it's against the law to drive drunk, but we don't outlaw alcohol. Correct? It's against the law to murder people, but the solution is to ban guns. That doesn't pass the smell test. It's already illegal to murder, assault, maim, threaten, do any of these things with a firearm. It's already illegal. Why is outlawing a firearm the answer to the problem? We don't have a gun problem. We have a people problem. And until we figure out how to handle people, we should not worry about the tools that they use. The regular carpenter hammer kills more people every year than an AR-15. Check the FBI statistics. So let's ban hammers before we ban rifles, because they're both tools.
Thank you for watching. This has been a different video than our recent ones. This is more of an educational video, hopefully. This will just help you be least likely to be manipulated by the media and the government. Hopefully this gave you information that can kind of, you know, let you make your own opinions.
Right. This is purely for information / rant. I try to turn my rant into something positive. This is what we came up with. Is it a perfect video or a perfect explanation of what's going on? No, but I trust the viewer to do the research to find out the specifics. This is just an example of how these different looking guns all function the same way, and everything they're telling you about AR-15s because they're black or military style or have a muzzle device or a detachable magazine, it's all nonsense. It's all lies. And with that, have a good day. Get out to the range, go shoot your gun, go fishing, go do something.